So today what I want to do is break down all of the items that we get at launch, except I only want to talk about the stuff that you can hop in on day one, minute one, without playing any games or leveling up at all. I want to break down everything that you get just fresh out of the box without anything. That's what we're going to talk about today, but first I want to start with the weapons. So getting into the weapons, there are going to be 9 weapons that are unlocked for us right at launch. We've got an assault rifle, it's the SMG, shotgun, LMG, marksman rifle, sniper rifle, pistol, launcher, and a melee weapon. We have 1 weapon from each weapon class. So just starting off, you don't have really immediate access, and I also do believe that we don't get our second weapon until player level number 7. So at player level number 7 is when we get that second weapon in that second SMG. But as for now, the weapons that we do have, I kind of want to break them down and talk about a little bit of their characteristics. And you can kind of decide which ones you kind of want to play with. Obviously, because it's launch time, you're probably going to only play with one of these weapons, especially in zombies, until you max level it and probably do some of the camo upgrades and things like that. But these weapons are very much good all around. So I kind of want to break some of these down. So first, we've got the XM4, very classic weapon. We saw that in the beta as well, and it was just a really good weapon overall. It has 3 magazines with 30 rounds each, giving us a total of about 90 rounds, which is going to be really good. It's really good, just balanced overall, but it really shines in its power, its mobility, and its accuracy. This is going to be a really good weapon just to be able to start in zombies with, get a good feel for both of the maps whenever we get in, as well as we're going to come in with an SMG. Now, this SMG has, shockingly, the mid-range damage as well to it, but this is the C9, which we also saw in the beta, which was really good. And it's going to be just a really good overall balanced weapon for you, period. It only comes with 30 rounds per magazine, but I'm hoping that maybe that's bumped up to like 60, hopefully 90 when it's Pack-a-Punch. From there, also, we've got our first shotgun as well. That's the Marine SP. We also saw this, but this is a pump action shotgun. So if you enjoy the pump action shotguns, this is going to be really good. Obviously, it has a lot of high damage, a lot of really good power, but its rate of fire is actually short cycle. So short cycling, that just means that the cycle between each pump is much shorter, much quicker than what we're used to. And so that should be a really good weapon. And I really want to know, and let me know in the comment section down below, what you guys think. Do you think that we're going to be able to, it's going to turn maybe fully automatic when we Pack-a-Punch it? Hopefully it does. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. It's also going to be a really close quarters, obviously, and it's going to be coming with 4 magazines of 6 pumps each. Hopefully that goes up to something like 15 or 18 once we Pack-a-Punch it. Then we've got our first LMG, and this is the PU-21, not to be confused with like stinky PU, like a baby, it stinks. But so this LMG has 3 rounds of 75 mags, so this is going to be huge, and it's also fully automatic. So one thing I like about this weapon is just that it is lightweight. It comes with really high damage and really good handling. And so this is going to be great for getting the chance to explore specifically Terminus, and because there's a lot of really long sight lines, and it has a really fast rate of fire and does really well with mid to long range ranges. So because of that, this is probably going to be what I launch into Terminus with, just to kind of explore it, because I'll be able to kind of get some really good movement in because it is lightweight, especially with Terminus being such a huge map. This is going to be probably one of the #1 weapons, or the first weapons that I actually loaded to Terminus with. Then we've got a marksman rifle and our sniper rifle. We have the SWAT 5.56 and the LW3 Alpha 1. Both of these are going to be really powerful weapons. The marksman rifle is a 3-round burst fire, which I'm hoping turns into a 6-round burst fire with Pack-a-Punch. And its main thing is just that it packs a lot of power. It has a fast, it actually has a really fast rate of fire, and it's really good with mid-range. Obviously, it's a marksman rifle, so it's going to do decently at longer ranges, but you can also trust that to be really good for mid-range. This might be decent meta at first as well. With that sniper rifle, it is our first bolt action sniper rifle. So with that bolt action sniper rifle, we get 4 magazines, 5 rounds per mag. But this has, for multiplayer, I'm not sure for zombies, but hopefully for zombies, it has 1-shot kill potential to the head and 1-shot kill to the torso. So hopefully we can get multiple shots, like kill multiple zombies with a headshot or torso shot with this rifle. Its rate of fire is a little bit slower. It's in the mid range, but it is also a sniper. So, I mean, what else can we expect? Then we've got our pistol. And so the first pistol that we have here is our 9mm PM. This has about 10 rounds per magazine. I'm sure it'll probably be much more later on once you pack a punch it. And there's also semi-automatic as well. So this just boasts really well with the handling. I mean, if we're going in, I mean, you just be able to have really good handling. If you are one of the people who wants to start zombies with nothing but a pistol and go in, this is going to be decent. It has about a medium rate of fire, and it's going to be just really great for obviously those close quarter combat, short ranges, things like that. Then we've got our launcher. And I'm excited about this launcher, the Sigma 2 Bravo, because it is our lock-on launcher. And I'm hoping, and I believe, and it's just speculation, that it will lock onto those elite enemies. Hopefully it does. It obviously has a lot of high damage. We only get 2 rounds with it as well, but obviously it's going to be a slower rate of fire. And then last but not least, we have our melee weapon. Now, in zombies, we will not be able to equip a melee weapon as a primary or secondary weapon throughout the entirety of Black Ops 6 zombies. However, we will always have a dedicated melee slot. And having that dedicated melee slot, we start off with the knife coming in. I believe we get a baseball bat. I believe we'll get a baseball bat. Let's see. We get the baseball bat at level 52. So it'll be a while before we can use an additional melee weapon. But the knife, though, it has 1 hit kill, which it should. I just know off top from building this up, the baseball bat has a 2 hit kill, by the way. But obviously it's going to boast in stealth, mobility, right? It has really high damage. You can get that 1 hit kill with most enemies. And then obviously it's going to be very close quarters. I'm not sure just how fast the knife swing is going to be. Hopefully the knife swing is going to be just as quick as it was in Black Ops Cold War. And hopefully we get maybe a Bowie knife as well that's a little bit quicker, that has really good movement. So those are the weapons that we're going to get. And like I said, probably the number 1 weapon I'm going to use at launch for Terminus is going to be the LMG. I think probably the SMG or the shotgun are going to be my go-to for Liberty Falls. So take from that what you will. Let's move right along. So up next, I want to get into talking about some of the perks, the other items and equipment that we're going to get outside of just the weapons at the launch of the game. So this first portion, before I get into talking about the perks, field upgrades, ammo types, and things like that, I have to first preface about playstyle. So during the year of Black Ops 6, I wanted to make sure that I can kind of break down and give you guys some really good tips on which weapons, what items, what equipment is going to be very useful, but it depends very much on the play style. So I have 6 play styles here that I want to break down before I kind of explain these perks and before I kind of explain these items for you, so that way you understand kind of my mindset. Also, if there's a play style that I don't have listed here that kind of falls outside of these 6, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to add that in, especially for those of you who play in a specific different way. So just really quickly, what I consider to be quick game is anything where your goal to go into the game is to maybe play the game for about 10, 15, 20 rounds. You're not planning on really going past round 20. That's what I would consider a quick game. Meaning that there's certain items and equipment that you're not even gonna really care to even bring in or to use because it won't really apply to your quick game. So for instance, maybe there's no point in you taking the time to actually grind up the scrap to go and buy a self-revive because you're only going to be in the game for about 10 to 20 rounds. If you died, you were only planning on being in the game for a little bit anyway. So things like that. That's what I mean by playstyle. Then moving forward to random queue. Random queue is just you're going to be queuing into a random game with random people. You don't know them. You don't have tactics with them already built up. You don't have kind of a playstyle, medics, and different roles and positions. So that sort of playstyle is what I mean by random queue. Obviously, camo grinding is very self-explanatory. You're going into the game with the purpose of just camo grinding, whether that's solo or co-op, whatever it is, that's the whole purpose. So whenever I mark something as great for camo grinding, it's supposed to be helpful to camo grinding. Then also you got the speed running, which is obviously some people, they enjoy speed running. What items, what equipment, what weapons are going to be the best for speed running. And then also we've got round 100 and high rounds. Now, I did split up round 100 and high rounds because I do believe that there's kind of a slightly different play style. And most of the items and equipment that I'm going to talk about during the duration of the year might have both benefits for high rounds and also round 100. But just to give an example of what I mean, round 100, those last 70 to 100 rounds, you're kind of switching up your play style because the zombie speed and the amount of zombies that are spawning, especially now on these much larger maps, are going to be very different. And so typically between around 70 and 100, you're still tweaking out your grind and figuring out your pattern of how you're going to take these enemies out and destroy them. and shoot them and things like that. So whatever meta or whatever style you play at about around like 50 is different than 70. 70 is going to be different than 90, and really almost 90 is going to be different than 99 and 100, especially because you're going to try and exfil at that point in time, and you need to do it successfully. Versus high rounds, we're talking around 957, that kind of thing. Hopefully we can get to around 1,000. That'll be really cool if they allow us to get up that high, especially because now we have the ability to be able to pause. And so things like that. So there are slightly different. You're going to see a lot of round 100s and high rounds together. But with that being said, I also want to talk about player count, because I broke down the player count by solo and co-op. This just means that whatever that item equipment is, this is going to be perfect for you to be able to play by yourself in a solo game. If I added co-op, that's because it is specifically whatever item that is or equipment that specifically aids or benefits when you are in co-op. You can use any of the solo stuff in co-op as well. I'm not saying that you can't. What I'm saying though is something has a specific added advantage of co-op. And sometimes you'll see where it's just simply you don't need to use this in solos because it has no benefit in solos. So that's kind of what I mean by player count and play style. I hope that makes a lot of sense. Let's just get right into the perks. We'll have access to all the perks, and that's because we don't need to unlock the perks to bring perks into the game, which is going to be obviously because you can craft all of the perks, the Perk-a-Colas in the game. So that's why we have access to all the perks. So I want to just briefly explain what the play styles are and when you want to use them best. So before breaking down all the perks, I must say at launch, we're not going to have access to any of the augments because you must play games in order to research the augments, in order to bring the augments into the game and ultimately change up your gameplay. And remember, this video is specifically only talking about as soon as you load the game in, what do you have available to you? So don't worry, I am going to have a video about all the augments testing. I'm going to have tons of videos testing every single augment, all 108 of them as well for you. So you don't have to worry too much about that. And if you're also looking forward to which are the best augments to use in the best situations, I also got all that data kind of already broken down up here. In every way. So really cool, but you can subscribe for all that kind of stuff because you get all that. So first off, I want to talk about Melee Macchiato. Melee Macchiato, it replaces the weapon gun butt with a deadly punch that sends enemies flying. This is going to be good for a solo gameplay, especially if you want it for a quick game or random queue. The reason why it's nothing really more than that is because if you just go into zombies day one without any upgrades, so anything, that punch isn't going to do much damage for long. So it'll do enough damage. Really just kind of a fun time. You can be able to go in, especially with random queue. Other people that have weapons, they can do, some of the shooting. Then we've got Elemental Pop. Elemental Pop, very, very, very useful. Obviously with solo gameplay, it's going to be really great strategy for quick games, random queues, round 100s, high rounds. Obviously, really all the perks you're going to want for high rounding. But if you're, for the most part, only just hanging out, utilizing it's what you just want to be able to get that. That's going to be really good for every bullet that you fire has the chance to apply a small random ammo mod effect. And so this is going to be great specifically for speed running because sometimes you don't want to pop a specific ammo mod. Now, there are going to be some augments where it specifically only allows you to proc one ammo mod. That one will be very beneficial. And also it's not good for camo grinding because sometimes you don't want a brave rotted zombie to go and kill the rest of your zombies. Then we've got Deadshot. Obviously, enemy down sight moves to the enemy critical location and it increases the critical damage to those enemies. This is going to be good for pretty much all things, all types of play styles. You always want to have Deadshot Daiquiri, as well as PhD Flopper. With PhD Flopper, you're going to be immune to all self-inflicted damage and status effects. Right at the beginning of the game, for like the first 10 to 20 rounds, you're probably not going to have a ray gun that could do damage. Not as many different elements, status affecting enemies as well. So if you're just going for a quick game, PSG Flopper is probably not one that you want to necessarily spend the money to buy up front, maybe later on. But this is also going to be good for random queue speed runs, round 100, things like that as well. Then when it comes to Stamin-Up, Stamin-Up is just going to also be great because it increases your movement speed as well. This is going to be great for all play styles. You definitely want to have Stamin-Up. As well as when it comes to Speed Cola, it increases your reload and your armor plating speed, which is going to be just great. Obviously, you want to have that for camo grinding because you're probably going to be getting hit a lot as we're trying to figure out where we want to be able to camp at, what strategies we want to be able to use. Obviously, we need Speed Cola for our speed runs, and then those high rounds around 100s because if we need to move around, getting hit a lot in those round 100s. So we need to be able to play it faster. From there, we've also got Quick Revive. Now, Quick Revive is the first perk that is specifically designed to help and assist more than just you. So this is where we got our very first co-op style perk. Now, the cool piece about this is it's going to reduce your health regeneration delay time by 50%. That's the time in between when you get hit and the delay between when your health starts to refill. It's going to split that in half, and it's going to reduce the time that it takes to revive an ally by 50%. So that's just going to be very helpful. Obviously, if you're going in, you want to have quick revive, regardless of whatever playstyle you have, regardless of whom you're playing with. And then last but not least, the most classic Jugger-Nog. Jugger-Nog is going to increase your maximum health by 100. Great thing about that is you want to have Jugger-Nog for every playstyle as well. Here's what I want to talk about, the one field upgrade that we get. So Energy Mine is going to be the field upgrade that we have access to right at launch. And Energy Mine is it is really great, especially having some really cool augments kind of coming up. But it creates a mine of pure energy that actually detonates in rapid succession, doing that lethal damage. So the really cool piece about this is something that you are going to run and play with immediately. You're going to want to bring in, get used to it, probably start that research early because there's some really cool strategies with it. As well as from there, we've got Deadwire. So it just kind of seems like we have most of the electrical things, but Deadwire is going to be our very first ammo mod that we can use. And the cool thing is this deals electric damage, and each bullet has a chance to stun a normal or a special enemy at its base, which I think is just really cool that it does that at its base. From there, that's obviously going to be really helpful for both solo and co-op. And it's going to be whether you're going in for a quick game, trying to speed run, or whatever the case is, it's going to be one that you want to have. We have Concussion Grenades. This is our first tactical that's coming in. So the Concussion Grenade is obviously, it's like that stun, right? It's going to slow their movement, things like that. That's what we have access to. That is going to cost 250 scrap or salvage. You probably hear me refer to the scrap mostly. But that's obviously going to be very helpful if you're, queuing in with anybody, if you're playing, speed running, whatever. That Concussion Grenade is always just a really great balanced item to use and have. We've also got frags. Instead of, we won't have that sticky grenade or that impact grenade for a good bit, actually. So we won't actually get the sticky grenade until player level 9. So it's going to be a while before we can actually get access to a sticky grenade. I always prefer to use sticky grenades. I think the impact grenade is going to be really cool as well. The thermal grenade will be all right. But I don't prefer to use the frag grenade as much, but hey, it costs 250 scrap, so if you want to use it, you can go ahead and grab it. This is just going to be great for just a quick game, random queue. Nothing really specific for speed running. I don't know anyone who uses it for speed running. If you guys need for speed running, let me know. I've seen that camera grinded because we want to kill the zombies ourselves. And then also, round 100 is the high rounds. You really need that grenade to impact where you want, when you want, right? The impact grenade is going to be great because as soon as you throw it, it hits contact anywhere, so knock those zombies down, especially if they're all running, if you got 100 zombies running at you. And then also with the sticky grenade, you can throw it at a group and you can run and it'll still move with that group and then blow them all up, versus throwing it rolling with the frag, and then it finally, right, and then you sitting there having to cook it, you get attacked. So the frag grenade is not anything good for high rounds. Then we come to our last three, and these are going to be our support equipment. So we've got a self-revive, Hellstorm, and then obviously armor plates. Self-revive, extremely necessary. These are going to cost 1,500 in the crafting table. You want to be able to have that, but I would say if you're only going in for a quick game, you don't really need it, just because you're probably just going to go in, play a quick game, and exfil before you even have to use your very first self-revive. Also, it is good for speed running, but if you are speed running, the likelihood that you're going to have to use the scrap to actually go and buy the self-res is very low. You're definitely going to want to use your scrap for other things, for instance, like the Hellstorm, which the Hellstorm missile might be great for speed running those Easter eggs, because you might be able to use a Hellstorm missile to also take out the final boss. This depends on like where the final enemy boss fight is, but this is a controllable long-range missile with brakes and boost capabilities and secondary missiles. So it's very similar to the one that we had in Cold War, where we used that for the Order boss fight for, what's the name of the map? The one map that everybody hates, that map. Firebase C. I actually love Firebase C. And then also we have our armor plates. Armor plates are going to be very important, obviously, because you need that to also survive a little bit longer. Obviously, with armor plates, you're going to want to have armor plates for all play styles, and that only helps out in co-op, but it costs 50 scrap to actually use. So If you want to go and buy more armor plates, you can just go buy more armor plates, but it'll also be available as wall buys. You can be able to increase it up as well. You can also be able to loot them or craft them. So it's really going to be really cool. So overall, even though we only have one field upgrade, ammo mod, tactical, lethal, support, and we can craft these 3 support equipment, we will be able to pick up or loot any of the tacticals, right? The concussions, smoke, stems, decoys, shot charges. For the lethals, we'll be able to pick up any of these. We'll be able to loot any of them. And then I don't believe that the support equipment might drop nearly, but not nearly enough, not nearly as often. So even in your very first game, you're probably going to end up using some of the other tacticals and lethals and equipment like that, other than what I just named here. Now, if you guys are excited to see much more about all of the progression unlocks and seeing the order and kind of how we break things down and what the best items to use along that progression is, make sure to stay tuned for the next video by subscribing. And if today helped you guys out, then make sure to let me know in the comment section down below all the information that this helped you guys out with. Let me know if you're actually excited for Black Ops 6. Are you going to play Black Ops 6? And most importantly, let me know what your first weapon is going to be and which map you're going to play first. I'd love to know. With that, have a beautiful goddamn day, and check out this video where I break down all of the good and the bad about Black Ops 6 zombies. I'm curious to see your response.